Yeah.
Okay, now look at this circuit. There are 6 resistances R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, R6 that are connected to a single battery. Now this is not such an easy circuit, slightly complicated circuit. Now in order to analyze such circuit and apply the loop rule, we have to consider any closed loop. At a time you can consider one closed loop and write down an equation corresponding to that. While doing so, there are certain conventions which you must remember. First one is, you give the current that is flowing through the different parts of the circuit. Now this is the main current I that comes from the battery. Now this current I flows through R1 and comes here, which is a junction. Now let us label this small a, small b, small c, small d, small e and small f. Now this is the junction B where this current I will divide into 2 parts. Suppose a part I1 is going through R6 and a part I2 is going through R2. Now this I2 is nothing but I minus R I1. But in order to reduce the number of unknowns, we just, to be more simple in writing the equations, we denote it as I2. So this current I2 will flow through R2 and then successively it passes through R3 and then also it passes through R5 and arrives at this junction E. And also at this junction E, you will have another incoming current from B, that is I1. So what happens ultimately at this junction E? There are 2 incoming currents, I1 and I2, which are nothing but the currents which are divided here. So these 2 currents I1 and I2 will combine at this junction E and then flow through this resistance R4. So through the resistance R4, the current will be current I from the battery. So the same current will get back to the battery. So this is our first. Take the closed loop, take a circuit, select the closed loop and indicate the currents that are passing through the various parts of the circuit. Now, coming to the application of the loop rule with the conventions, whenever you pass through a resistance in the direction of current flow through that, then the potential difference across the resistance must be written with a minus sign. Like for example, I is the current passing through R1, so the potential difference across R1 will be minus I R1. It should be written with a minus. Then come around this closed loop A, B, E, F, A. Now I am writing this equation A, B, E, F, A. Loop rule applied to A, B, E, F, A. So I started from here. I completed this part going through R1. Now I will come like this. Now I am going through R6, where the current through R6 is I1. But again I am going in the direction of the current. So therefore I should write the corresponding potential difference as minus I1 R6. Okay. So now we are here. From here you move through this resistance R4, in which the current flowing is I. Already we have designated the currents. So the current through the resistance R4 is I and you are moving again in the direction of the current. So therefore the potential difference across R4 is minus IR4. Then finally, to complete the closed loop, we have to pass through the cell, pass through the battery. Now when you are passing through the battery, from negative to positive terminals if we are going, the potential, the EMF will be written with a plus sign. I repeat again, when you are passing through a cell, from negative to the positive terminals, then the EMF of cell should be written with a plus sign. Which means, now to complete the closed loop, I will write plus E. Is equal to 0. Okay, so this is one equation written for one closed loop. Now the same thing if you do by selecting in the other direction. Now what I am going to say is, we have written this equation by considering to go around the closed loop A, B, E, F, A. That means we have proceeded in a clockwise direction. Now if suppose you go in an anti-clockwise direction, the equation doesn't change. Only thing is, respect to signs will change at the respective places. Like for example, start from here. When you go through R4, the term will be IR4. Then when you go like this, I1R6 plus I, plus IR4 plus I1R6, then plus IR1. Now when you come to the cell, it should be minus, and that is equal to 0, which means both of them are equal. So it really doesn't matter whether you go around the closed loop in the clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. But the proper sign convention must be applied. So therefore, like this, you can apply the loop rule with the conventions and write down the respective equations. And incidentally, this circuit which you have here will have three closed loops. One already I have shown and written the equation. The second closed loop is B, C, D, E, B. We don't write the equation for that, I am just showing you. B, C, D, E, B. You can write it, you can write the equation corresponding to that closed loop as a practice and then see that you are acquainted with the application of the conventions. And then finally, the third closed loop is A, B, C, D, E, F, A. The complete outer closed loop, which means ignoring this middle resistance R6. That means the third closed loop. So for that also you can write down the equation. So this is how you can study an electrical circuit with the help of the junction rule as well as the loop rule. Basically I have taken this circuit to explain about the junction rule, the loop rule and then the conventions that are involved with the loop rule. The junction rule also, if you take for this circuit, there are only two things to consider in this circuit as far as the junction is concerned. One is this point B a junction where the current I is divided into two parts, I1 and I2. Then again at this junction E, the currents I1 and I2 are combining to flow back as the total current I. So in any circuit at a junction you can apply the junction rule, and in a closed loop you can apply the loop. So these are the two mathematical laws which are very useful and very significant in analyzing any electrical circuit. Now let us apply these laws to study one of the important electrical circuits which also has got a practical equivalent, and that electrical circuit is Wheatstone bridge. We will study some of the important points with regards to that Wheatstone bridge. I will first draw the circuit diagram and then continue with the explanation of the circuit and the analysis of the circuit.
Switch on here.
bridge. Basically, this consists of 4 resistances R1, R2, R3, R4, which are connected in the form of a quadrilateral. So that there are 4 junctions: small a, small b, small c, and small d. So there are 4 junctions A, B, C, D. Now, between the 2 opposite junctions A and C, SL is connected. Between the remaining 2 opposite junctions B and D, a galvanometer is connected in order to detect the flow of current. Generally, galvanometer is a device which can be used to measure the current in a circuit, or sometimes a galvanometer is also used to detect the flow of current in a circuit. So there are 2 types. So it's a detecting type of galvanometer that is connected between the opposite junctions B and D. So this forms a Wheatstone's bridge circuit. Now in this circuit, we have designated the currents that are passing through the different parts of the circuit. This is the main current I, which is drawn by the battery. This current I divides into 2 parts at this junction point A. Current I1 will flow through R1 and the current I2 flows through R2. Now this current I1 arrives at this junction B and again divides into 2 parts such that a part of current Ig passes through the galvanometer and the remaining part I3 flows through the resistance R2. Then this current I2, which is passing through R3 here, will arrive at the junction D. You have one more current that is arriving at this junction D, that is Ig. So this Ig and I2 will combine and then flow as current I4 through R4. So therefore I4 is the current passing through R4. Finally, at this junction C, this current I3 and the current I4, they will combine and flow back as the total current I. Okay? So this is how the currents are designated in the circuit. Now, let us analyze the circuit by applying the junction rule at the points B and D. So at B, if you apply the junction rule, there is one incoming current I1 and there are 2 outgoing currents Ig and I. So therefore, I1 should be equal to Ig plus I2. Right? I1 is equal to Ig plus I2. Now, at the junction D, there are 2 incoming currents I2 and I3 and 1 outgoing current I4. So therefore, I2 plus Ig should be equal to I4. So applying the junction rule, at the junction B, I1 is equal to Ig plus I3 and at the junction D, I2 plus Ig is equal to I4. Now, apply the loop rule for the flow to do ABDA. So start from here, minus I1 R1 minus Ig into G plus I2 R3 is equal to 0. Minus I1 R1 minus Ig into G plus I2 R3 is equal to 0. So this is for the closed loop. Next, second closed loop, BCDB. Now in this closed loop, minus I3 R2 plus I4 R4, because you are moving opposite of the direction of the current, plus I4 R4 again plus Ig into G is equal to 0. So these four equations can be written by using the junction rule and the loop. Now, the important condition in the Wheatstone's bridge is there should be no current that passes through the galvanometer. Now, if no current should pass through the galvanometer means the potentials at the points B and D must be equal. Right? Potentials at the points B and D must be equal. And they can be made equal by suitably selecting the values of the four resistances R1, R2, R3, R4. Actually, in this circuit, we have considered all these four resistances to be fixed resistances. But in reality, one of these four resistances will be a variable resistance, so that its value can be changed accordingly, so that the potentials at the points B and D can be made equal. Whatever it is, by suitable means, the potentials at the points B and D can be made equal, and in such a case, there is no current passing through the galvanometer. This is called as balancing condition of Wheatstone's bridge. No current passing through the galvanometer is the balancing condition of Wheatstone's bridge. So therefore, when we apply this balancing condition, that Ig is equal to 0, if Ig is equal to 0. Now just look at these equations, how the equations are going to be modified. When Ig is equal to 0, the first equation reduces to I1 is equal to I1. Okay? I1 is equal to I2. Second equation, I is 0, which means I2 is equal to I4. Right? I2 is equal to I4. Then similarly, the same thing if you do by putting Ig is equal to 0, then this will be minus I1 R1 plus I2 R3 is equal to 0, which means I1 R2 is equal to I2 R1. That I am writing separately here. I1 R1 is equal to I2 I2R. Now the same thing if you do here for the last equation, Ig is equal to 0, which means that is 0. So minus I3R2 plus I4R4 is equal to 0, which means I3R2 should be equal to I4R4. I3R2 is equal to I4R4. I3R2 is equal to I4R4. So therefore, on applying the balancing condition, the equations will reduce to these two. I1R1 is equal to I2R3 and I3R2 is equal to I4R4. Now, also since I1 and I2 are equal, one more thing, I1 and I3 are equal and I2 and I4 are equal, we can use those two conditions here and then write the ratio between these two equations. Now, we will write that ratio here, I1 R1 divided by I3 R2 is here. Now, in place of I3, I am writing I1 because I1 and I3 are equal. So, I1 R2 divided by I1 R2 is equal to I2 R3 divided by I4 R4. Now, in place of I4, I will write I2. I can replace it under the balancing condition. So, therefore, I2 R4. So, what this gives us after simplification? I1 cancels and I2 cancels. You are finally left with R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R4. So, this is called the balancing condition, the equation of the Wheatstone's bridge under the balancing condition, which gives a comparison between the four resistances of the that are involved in the circuit. So, out of these four resistances, if you know the values of three of them, the fourth one can be determined. That is one of the applications of the Wheatstone's bridge. Now, there are certain things which you should remember when you study the Wheatstone's bridge circuit, not just writing these equations. First of all, when we take this junction B, where we have shown the current I1 to be splitting into two parts, one part IG going like this and another part I3 going like this, why not the current I2 which is arriving from R3 here can move in that direction? Is it possible to happen? It is not possible because through any part of the circuit, current will flow in only one direction, which is decided by the potentials at the points B and D. And always the current which we are considering to be the conventional current will prefer to flow from higher potential point to lower potential point. Right? So therefore point B is always at a higher potential as compared to point D. That's why we have given the current through the galvanometer to be flowing like this, not like this. That is one thing. Secondly, when this junction is considered, this current I4, why can't it go like that? It's not going. It is going like this and getting back to the battery. Why? Because when a current is coming like this from here, it means this point is at higher potential as compared to this. So current can never flow, the conventional current can never flow from lower potential point to higher potential point. So it has only one preferential direction of flow, that is from here to pass to the battery and then maintain that continuous current. These are the two things you should remember. Secondly, under the balancing condition, if you closely observe the four resistances arrangement, R1, R2 will be in series. These two resistances will go in series because the main condition for series combination of resistances is current through the resistances must be same. Right? Current through the resistances must be same. And you have a current I1, of course, you have a current I3 which is shown in the circuit, but this I3 equals to I1 under the balancing condition. So the same current flows through this branch R1, R2. So R1 and R2 are in series. Similarly, R3 and R4 will be in series. And respectively R1, R2 in series, R3, R4 in series, which is in between these 2 points, those respective series combinations of R1, R2 and R3, R4 will be parallel between A and C. That is the effective resistance of the Wheatstone's bridge circuit. Right? So this is an important application of the Kirchhoff's laws to study the Wheatstone's bridge circuit and its balancing condition. This Wheatstone's bridge is practically applied to an experimental part involving meter bridge. Meter bridge. So this meter bridge is used to determine the unknown resistance of some given wire, and once you have the unknown resistance of the given wire, we can find out the specific resistance of the wire by finding out its diameter. So there are a few applications involving the meter bridge, which is basically based on the Wheatstone's bridge circuit. So let us conclude here in the analysis of the electrical circuits.
Monthly resistance.